Scary moments in Boston in 1974. I was in 10th grade. I actually lived in Rhode Island, and even though we're like 40 miles away, we still felt it there. In high school, those were some times. What was that got to do with butterflies? Well, if you looked at the last guy who talked, he was forced into a situation, and he said, "But we took it out on the blacks. Today I know now it's wrong." I've been doing a lot of studying on bullying, and one type of bullying that I'm kind of starting to recognize, and I'm guilty of it too, and I'll tell some of my own life stories too. That maybe this might help another butterfly, maybe a friend, maybe a TS mom or dad, maybe get some us to to think a little. But the bullying result was the fear of the unknown, and and the fear of different people coming in. I'm not. I mean, we could talk about the pros and cons of busing, and that's not the point of the video. The point was that man, probably now in his 40s when that video was taken, realized it was wrong, and he reacted out of fear. He couldn't process the information. I think it kind of got caught up in the mob violence too, and that mob violence can be really addicting. I think it's some of the bullying that we've been seeing, and I think it's some that's been type of that's been sort of the elephant in the room that we've been talking about on these videos. One type of bullying, there's lots. One is the abused becoming the abuser. In my case, was not able to process my feelings, was not allowed to talk about them, had no outlet, so I took it on somebody who wasn't my size. I said, go back on somebody your own size. No, I didn't. Not proud of it. I think we all grow, and I think we all learn from that. So that's one type. Sometimes it's acting, and it's a lot of times it's acting out of pain. Another is not being able to process the information, and then the fear of the fear of the unknown, and with that type of bullying, there's usually something behind it. I can give personal examples from my own life. I think all of us had our scary classes. We had our scary science classes. That was mine. Maybe some of us had our scary math classes. No, nobody had those problems. I can already see butterflies coming after me with clubs and torches on that one. Okay, but in junior high school, Mr. Ciccarelli just taught science, and he didn't sugarcoat it, and he told it the way it was. And for this little eighth grader who still had a lot growing up, the lot of stuff he had to share was real scary. And I'm sure some of us could all relate to being scared of doing dissections. Ugh. Some of us have had fears of astronomy. You kind of know where we're going with. And he talked about the violent universe, and that just scared this little eighth grader. Instead of going to Mr. Ciccarelli, I lashed out at him in fear and in anger, and I took it out on him. And I called him all sorts of names, and I made Mr. Ciccarelli's life a living hell. I don't know if he's still alive, but Certainly that's not his real name, obviously, but if Mr. Ciccarelli is still alive, Mr. Ciccarelli, I'm sorry. I didn't know any better. Will you forgive me? All right. But I acted out. I acted out in fear. It wasn't really that it wasn't that Mr. Ciccarelli was a creep. It wasn't that he was an ABC or an XYZ. The real issue is I wasn't able to process the fear and the things he was teaching. He was a great teacher. Sometimes a little cold-hearted. Sometimes his delivery was a little gruff. But in terms of his teaching, he knew his stuff. So I really deserve more credit. Sometimes when we see things that are strange or just out of the norm, and sometimes the bullying, and sometimes we react out of fear. And I think in the past year, I think that's what's really been going on. It's not that somebody did somebody to somebody. It's more of sometimes it's easier to act out, and sometimes it's easier to lash out at a person instead of dealing with the real issues. Dealing with the real issues, whatever they may be. In my case, with Mr. Ciccarelli, he was teaching some scary stuff, and I had to go back to my guidance counselor and talk to Mrs. Motorman, and then maybe process those fears a little better. Because growing up in a family in which we were not allowed to process our emotions didn't exactly help matters either. You've heard a story on another video about Mindy Goldberg. I was scared of her. Scared and frightened, and I got myself caught in a lot of flight fright. And oh boy, and I ran away, and I said things about her, and I spread really wild rumors about Mindy. Again, it's just true story, but we're going to change names to protect the innocent and all that jazz. But I put Mindy through hell. Now the good news there is that Mindy and I really talked. We talked about it. We talked about it later, and I came clean with her. And then through various recovery communities over the years, I processed what was going on. And there's one other little story, true butterfly story. That could have been really nasty. And the very first butterfly I ever met, I was terrified of her, scared. And it took me a while to kind of realize what's going on. I said, hold on. Hold the phone. Hold everything. Wait a minute. Whoa. That's the computer. Oh, well, we'll talk to it later. Sorry, Hannah. But that's, I came that close to lashing out. But then I stopped. Okay, why am I reacting this way? What's really going on? Just like that man who lived in South Boston. He realized he acted out. He acted out in his fears, the fears of the unknown, and in later years he regretted it. And I think this may be some type of bullying. I know a lot of people are going to have a really hard time buying it. But I know from my own experience that when there is that false expectation to appear real. And I think a lot of us with learning disabilities, yours truly included, will read into stuff that's not there. And then there's a tendency to foul up everything and run away and hide and attack from the sidelines. That's also the dynamics of bullying. I've actually been doing a lot of academic reading on it. I'm kind of fascinated because I'm guilty of myself, and I want to learn maybe to help other recovering bullies. There's some good in here. So the problem was me. What was I afraid of? And I took the plunge. I took a chance. Never regretted it. It's been a learning experience. There are a couple other butterflies that went, oh, wow. But I'm glad I took a chance. There's been some wonderful friendships. It's been an education for me. I know there are some that say to those who are outside of the TS community, say, "You have no right to be here. Go away." Just like the people in South Boston said, "Stay out of our neighborhood." The only problem is people got hurt. Also, let's look at the reaction of the girls that were on the bus, and it must have been pretty scary having a police escort. That's why it's important to face everyone and recover. Because in the past year, friendships have been destroyed, and people have died, for cover, and have run away because they're afraid of the drama and afraid of being attacked. What I would encourage people, butterfly parents, caregivers, and friends, and caring professionals, and those in the Turner Syndrome volunteer organizations craft an anti-bullying policy. Part of that would include what's really going on and really looking at the hurts. Now, obviously, if somebody's done something is really wrong, then that person needs to be called accountable. Even if I did, I made a lot of false accusations in my life and some of my own bullying too, because I did it out of fear. I think that's what's happening here. I could be wrong. Not every Turner Syndrome sister's like that. Yeah, it's part and parcel of the community. I knew, I knew that coming in. But sometimes we have the brave butterflies. Again, I can't say it enough. Are going to be the ones who are going to face their fears and say, "Well, yeah, this is what was really going on." It's hard. The bullying is addicting. I get it. I'm a gratefully recovering bully myself. There's no such thing as Bullies Anonymous as far as I know. Someone's going to Google and prove me wrong. And hey, if there's, great. But if there were, step 12 would say, having had a spiritual awakening as well as these steps, we carry this message to bullies and practice all of these principles in our lives. I mean, we're powerless over we who have been bullied are powerless over our victimizers. Those who are bullying and coming to realize, oh, good night. I am so sorry. I didn't realize what I was doing. And those who suddenly stop, maybe through an intervention, maybe from people who love them and care for them, say, stop, take a look at it. And maybe there might be some that we're attacking that might be not what we now call Anonymous, we call a moment of clarity. And then they might say, what am I doing? Congratulations. If you're at that place, you're on the way to getting better. Being a butterfly, it's hard work. I knew that. I talked to a lot of them. growing up with learning disabilities and having a lifelong pattern of it, and that's hard. For some of us who didn't get the care that we needed and we're left coming up short. Ouch. And that's tough too. So I think a lot can be learned from South Boston. And I'm not a mouse. Butterflies are not elephants, even though sometimes it looks like it. Butterflies aren't mice, and I'm not an elephant. So I should stop acting like one. There's no reason to be afraid. It's hard. It's some random thoughts to think about. But I'm always going to be here for the Turner syndrome community, for any butterfly that just wants to come and talk and whatever on their mind. And the good news is we actually have a large community, and despite some critics, we're actually probably a small percentage, really, if you look at the numbers. There's also a large number of people who are joining our online community or accept a Facebook request from me, and then look at some of the material that I and others have. And maybe sometimes we just share some recipes, and maybe we just share our stories of our pets. That ain't half bad either. Well, let's see. Hold on. Well, hold on. Oops. Right, Hannah? Oh, come on, girl. Oh, come on. You're going to make a fool out of me, aren't you? You're not a mouse. You are a chartreuse. Well, I'm going to play with Hannah for a while, but I hope it generates some thoughtful discussion. And I know a couple of people have come forward and say, yeah, Mark, I'd like to talk about. We sometimes have to agree to disagree. Right, Hannah? Right. Okay. That's good. Yeah. But it'll work out. Yes, Hannah, it will. I promise. All right. Talk to you later, and we'll talk next time. Yep, you too.